Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, the Dodgers dropped the series to the Padres. Pretty lackluster game against Blake Snell, who looked really good. We will talk about Ryan Pepiot, who looked really good at times, made a couple bad pitches, and the Padres definitely made him pay for those. We'll talk about Blake Snell and the fact that he's a free agent and whether he might be a target of the Dodgers this offseason. And we'll talk about a few other things about this game and this series as the Dodgers head into an off day. So that's what's on tap. So let's get Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. Or even better, go ahead and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. Then you can be an everydayer just like we are. And if this is your first time with us, I am Jeff Snider. My co-host is Vince Samperio. We're doing a split episode today, so it'll be me for the first half, Vince for the second half. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like you are. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we're not quite insiders, but we bring you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. This episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's Jase medical.com. And first, before we get started, I want to shout out one of our everydayers, or she says she's an almost everydayer, Sarah Morris. She sent me this beautiful bobblehead that you see if you're watching on YouTube. It's the James Outman Miguel Vargas bobblehead that the Dodgers gave away a week or two ago. And Sarah knew that because I didn't renew my season tickets this year for reasons that I explained on a previous episode, one of the big downsides of that is it has hurt my bobblehead collection, because what you see behind me, if you're watching this, is every bobblehead that the Dodgers have given away during the 10 years that I was a season ticket holder. And plus some others from before that and some others that I got from FOCO and a few others. But most of this bobblehead collection is the stadium giveaways. And not having those tickets, I don't get those as much anymore. And so Sarah did not ask for a shout out on the podcast, but she did tell me she's an almost everydayer. And I really appreciate her just out of the goodness of her heart sending me that bobblehead. My buddy Thomas, you remember I shouted him out for sending me the Fernando Valenzuela bobblehead. He's gotten a shout out that he asked for, still hasn't sent me the bobblehead. So Thomas, get on that. With those formalities out of the way, let's talk about this game. I'm just trying to put off talking about this game. It was a clunker. Mookie Betts got a hit, first batter of the game for the Dodgers. Dodgers didn't get another hit until the 8th inning. Blake Snell looked really, really good. He's been very good this year. He wasn't as good as his final line maybe made it look. He had one walk. Mookie had a walk. Those were the only 2 base runners that Snell allowed. He should have had 3 walks because Chris Taylor got a strike called on a 3-ball count that was outside the zone, and Austin Barnes had a bad call in a first 4 pitches to Barnes were out of the strike zone, and somehow it was a 3-1 count. Both of them ended up getting out in those at bats, and so 3 walks in 6 innings is much more in keeping with Blake Snell this year. And Dodgers probably weren't going to do much against Snell, but sure would have been nice to see what would have happened if they had played the game by the rules of baseball instead of by the rules of umpires who can't see very well. But not going to rant about that. Saving it. I might have saved for the postseason because I'd hate to use them both. As everydayers know, I've only allotted myself 2 episodes this year ranting about the umpires, and I've used one of them. And I might have to save the other one for the postseason because I'd hate to use both of them up and then have a postseason game determined by the umpires and not be allowed to say anything about it. So probably save it for the postseason, hope that it doesn't come up, and then I'll just do it in the off season, I'll just go off on the umpires one day. But anyway, really the story of the game on the Dodgers side was Ryan Pepiot coming off his 7 nearly perfect innings last time out, just the one base runner. He looked really, really good in this game. In the first inning, he looked awesome, except that he made one bad pitch to Juan Soto on an 0-2 count. He threw a fastball basically right down the middle. My son gets mad when I call things right down the middle because apparently I am overly generous with that term. It's kind of my generic term for a pitch that's way too hittable. This one was pretty close to right down the middle, though, and Soto didn't miss it, and he hit a home run. And then later, Pepiot made a bad pitch. Well, 3 bad pitches in one inning, honestly. Fernando Tatis hit a double, Juan Soto hit a single, and then Luis Campusano hit a 3-run home run. And basically those 4 pitches were the only bad pitches that Pepiot made. And it's kind of, I said this on Twitter, pitchers make bad pitches all the time. They miss their spots all the time, and they usually get away with it. It is remarkable how often a hitter will get a mistake and not do something with it. He'll foul it off, or he'll fly out to the warning track instead of hitting the ball over the wall. I would guess that maybe 30% of the time hitters actually make pitchers pay for their mistakes. The Padres tonight were 100% of the time against Pepiot. And that was the difference in the game, really. He pitched 6 innings, allowed just those 4 runs, the 2 home runs. That was it. Made 4 bad pitches, allowed 4 runs. That usually won't happen. And so that's a little bit promising. As far, thinking about the postseason, as Stephen Nelson and Eric Karros mentioned on the podcast, during the game, the broadcast of the game, everything the Dodgers are doing right now is all about getting ready for October. And so I'd say I don't feel quite as good about Pepiot as I did after his last start, but almost as good, like 98% as good as I did last time, because he looked really good. He had more swings, or like one fewer swing and miss, or one more, about the same number of swings and misses in the same number of innings as Blake Snell. The difference is that the Dodgers didn't punish the few mistakes that Snell made, and the Padres did punish Pepiot's mistakes. And so those games happen. Realistically, 6 innings, 4 runs. Usually that's going to be enough for the Dodgers to get a win. Tonight, it wasn't. It wasn't even close. And so that's a bummer for Pepiot. But all in all, I feel pretty good about that kid still. He's confident. He's throwing strikes and getting a lot of swing and miss, which in his 7 nearly perfect innings, he only had 3 strikeouts. Didn't have a ton of swing and miss. He was getting a lot of weak contact, and he had some help from his defense. This time, weak contact and swing and miss. It was a good combination. He looked really good. And honestly, I feel like Pepiot and Miller are the 2 surest things that the Dodgers have going into the postseason, which is a little bit scary, but also, it's exciting. Yeah. And so I'm excited to see we can do October, and he'll have another couple starts this year in the regular season to get ready for that. And I'm excited for those 2, because I do think most of the time the opposing team won't punish 100% of his bad pitches. And if he can cut down, then also I've talked about how the only way to learn how to pitch in the big leagues is by pitching in the big leagues. And I really do truly believe that you learn more from mistakes than from successes. And so throwing a 0-2 fastball right down the middle to Juan Soto is a mistake that Ryan Pepiot will never make again. I honestly believe he learned more from that home run than he would have from throwing a perfect changeup and getting Soto to strike out. And so in a game that has no meaning other than development of Ryan Pepiot, it was maybe the best outcome there could have been, because he will develop more. I'm going to come back in a minute. I'm going to talk a little bit about the current standings, the state of the wild card race, all that, before I turn it over to Vince to talk about the idea of the Dodgers chasing Blake Snell in free agency, perhaps. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. And please continue to keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Hey, I am back. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Want to remind you, you can catch every Dodgers radio broadcast on SiriusXM or the SXM app by searching for Locked On Dodgers. No, by searching for Dodgers. You can listen to this podcast on the SXM app by searching for Locked On Dodgers. Want to thank all of you who are with us every day, our everydayers. It's a fun club to be a part of. If you're not a part of it, be a part of it. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. And remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the YouTube comment section. If you're listening on the podcast, we'd love to hear from you through social media or email or whatever. Vince will give you all that contact info at the end, like he always does. And let's jump into the standings. Just a little bit of update. The Dodgers have the day off day. They're traveling to Seattle for a series this weekend. My best friend lives in Seattle. Maybe he wants me to come visit this weekend. I'll have to see if he wants to buy me a plane ticket. I've never been to a Dodger game in Seattle. I've been to a Mariners Angel game in Seattle. That's the only game I've been to in that stadium, I believe. But Dodgers are going to be in Seattle, and today, Wednesday, as I'm recording this, most of the teams in the wild card race lost. Most of them won. The Phillies and the Cubs, who have the top two spots, they both lost. And then of the four teams battling for the third spot, only the D-backs lost, which was meaningful because they were in the lead. They lost, but the Reds, Marlins, and Giants all won. And so now you have the Diamondbacks and the Reds tied for that last wild card spot, and the Marlins and Giants tied just half a game behind those two teams. All four of those teams have 71 losses. And the loss column is important because it kind of determines to what extent you control your own destiny. Because if you've lost the same number of games, that means if you don't lose anymore, you can't finish behind that team. So all four teams have 71 losses. The D-backs and Reds are 76 and 71, and the Marlins and Giants are 75 and 71. So that is going to be a very interesting battle for that last wildcard spot. It's possible that even the other spots could come into play. The Phillies have a 3.5 game lead, and the Cubs are 2 games up. So most likely they will take those last 2 spots, but 3.5 games and 2 games aren't insurmountable. And so there could be 6 teams battling for those 3 spots, but there's definitely 4 teams battling for the last spot, if nothing else. And that could be a lot of fun going into the last week of the season. If they're all still battling, could be an advantage for whoever's playing, like the Brewers, who are likely to be the 3 seed, will be playing against the 6 seed in the first round. And so that's a benefit to the Brewers if, whoever they play doesn't have any chance to set up their postseason rotation in any way, shape, or form. So it does increase the chances that the Dodgers would then play the Brewers in the second round. And, offense-wise, I like that. Obviously, the Brewers have good pitching, and so it could be a dangerous series. But all that stuff comes into play. It's going to be fun. If you're a baseball fan, it's fun to watch. I'm always team chaos when it comes to the postseason spots. I'd love to see a 4-way tie for that last spot because as of last year, with his new CBA, they no longer do any on-the-field tiebreakers. All tiebreakers are based on formulas. And so we could very realistically have a situation where 4 teams are tied for the last playoff spot, and the tiebreakers are done by a nerd with a calculator instead of by baseball players on the field. And because it's not my favorite team that would be affected by that, I think that sounds awesome. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think it would be really fun if the D-backs and Giants both missed out on the postseason because of a formula. I think that would be fun. Like, I have a thing about NL West teams. I don't want them to be happy. And so even though, like, I think that the Marlins and the Reds both scare me more in the postseason than the D-backs or the Giants. But it would feel worse to lose to the D-backs or the Giants than it would to lose to the Marlins or the Reds. Obviously, I just hope the Dodgers just win. But that's where we're at, and that's where the wild card race is at. It should be a lot of fun. And as the Dodgers aren't playing for anything really, their magic number remains 4, and so they could clinch the National League West this weekend. They're going to win. They're 7 games ahead of the Brewers for the second seed, and so that's what they're going to have. So it's going to be exciting and something to watch if you want something other than the Dodgers playing out the string is that wild card race. I think that's going to do it for me. I really do appreciate you guys watching, and I know Vince does too. Vince is going to come and he's going to talk to you about the possibility of the Dodgers chasing Blake Snell in free agency. So that's it for me, and Vince will be along in a minute.
Modern medical care and treatment are important, but our global supply chains are fragile. Things like pandemics, natural disasters, and foreign travel may cut you off from the treatment you need. Jase Medical is your solution. Just fill out the online form, and one of Jase Medical's board-certified physicians will review it to determine whether medications are safe and appropriate. Then Jase will send your prescriptions to one of their partner pharmacies where your order will be filled and mailed directly to your home. You can also send your physician a message for answers to treatment-related questions at any time. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase case. If you're a dad that's very on top of things like Jeff, you already ordered your Jase case and he got his in a couple of days. So don't wait around. Go get it done. Get yourself the Jase case because you can save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 when you use our code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Yo, Dodger fans, Vince here to close out the episode. And like Jeff mentioned, I'm here to talk about Blake Snell and a potential guy the Dodgers go after in this offseason coming up. And, maybe a little bit early, but Blake Snell just pitched against the Dodgers. Blake Snell is the likely front runner for Cy Young right now and a guy that will be available here in this offseason. So first, let's just kind of run through Blake Snell. Blake Snell is 30 right now, but he'll be 31 at the start of next season. He had, this year he's 14-9 with a 2.43 ERA, a 3.53 FIP. He's made 30 starts, 167 innings. He struck out 217 batters in those 167 innings, but he's also issued the most walks, 93 walks in those 167 innings. He also has the most wild pitches this season with 12. So, and a whip of 1.222. So there's a lot to like. There's some stuff to not like. If you go based on the Blake Snell that we're used to seeing, which is we being Dodger fans and we being people that watch mostly Dodger games, Blake Snell is really, really good because against the Dodgers in his career, regular season, he's made 13 starts. He has a 2.59 ERA in 62 innings with 82 strikeouts, a 1.069 whip. If you think about Blake Snell specifically at Dodger Stadium, he has a 1.80 ERA in 6 starts, 25 innings, 35 strikeouts, a 1.08 whip. So if he was going to face the Dodgers, then yeah, it's someone for sure you want to sign because he would be very successful in that role. But if it's someone the Dodgers are looking to sign this offseason, obviously that it plays a factor into it. Blake Snell is good. Like, let's just start off by saying Blake Snell is good. He's a very good pitcher. He's had mixed, success over the last few years. But for the most part, he's been, an above average pitcher. He already has one Cy Young Award in 2018 when he went 21-5 for the Rays and had a 1.89 ERA. That's actually his career high in innings. He'll probably pass that this year, but his career high in innings 180 innings that year with 221 strikeouts. So he's already had 217 strikeouts this year in 13 less innings. So, he's going to pass his career high for strikeouts. He's having a solid contract year. I mean, good, very good. He's going to be a Cy Young winner. But obviously there's things to poke at in that. Whereas, and it's interesting because you look at the last 3 seasons, and we'll stick with last 3 seasons right now. He's made 27 starts, 24 starts, 30 starts. So he's been, most durable this year. He's going 167 innings in 30 starts. He is outperforming his FIP, though. His FIP is 3.53. His ERA is 2.43. Whereas in years past, he's been the opposite, where his FIP has been lower than his ERA. Last year, he had a 2.80 FIP, a 3.38 ERA. The year before, 3.82 and a 4.20. So, and actually throughout his career, he's been, for the most part, outperforming FIP, more often than not. So, yeah, and obviously it's all going to come down to cost. So we'll start with cost. What could Blake Snell cost? Like I said, 31 years old. That means he's probably still in line for at least a 5-year deal. That'll take him to age 36. He hasn't had a fallout in velocity. His fastball velocity's basically been the same his entire career. He topped out at 95.8 in 2019, and he's at 95.4 this year. He was at 90. Actually, he topped out at 95.8 last year as well, and he's at 95.4 fastball this year. So he hasn't lost velocity. So that's a good sign. So, you're looking at least 5 years. You're looking at least 20 to 25 mil. And, that may be lowballing a bit, but I don't think so. I think 25 mil is about where he'll top out at in terms of AAV. It's just a matter of how many years someone gives him, but 5 years, at 25 mil, 100, that's possible. Somebody's going to give him maybe more than anyone else will give him, and that's where he's going to end up. But for the Dodgers, 5 years, 30 mil a year, it seems like 30 mil a year, but 5 and 150 isn't terrible. I don't think he'll get that, but there is going to be a shortage of premium starting pitching this offseason with Shohei Ohtani not being able to pitch next year. With there's still a lot that can happen with Julio Urias. Blake Snell is going to be the top, one of, if not the top arm in terms of starting pitching this offseason. So, he may get a little bit more money than he was in line to get before the season started. And even, despite how good he's been. So, you're looking at 5 years, 5+ years, 20, 25, 30 mil a year. I think anything under 175, the Dodgers might be in on. That sounds a little bit high. I think 150 might be what they top out at in terms of what they're willing to give them. But again, the market will kind of dictate that. The Dodgers will have a number, and the market will kind of dictate that. But, in that aspect, like, will Blake Snell hold up? And I would be interested. The Dodgers aren't, not the Dodgers, the Padres aren't really known as a team that, pitchers go to get better and develop and, pitch better than they had before. Blake Snell, and in that sense, Blake Snell seems to be kind of going on his own, the things he's been kind of on his own, I guess. There's no significant change when he got to the Padres of how he pitches. He's been fastball heavy his entire career, right around 50, 50+%, give or take, on his fastball in terms of how often he throws it. The changeup, he's upped his usage of the changeup this year specifically, but the last couple of years, the changeup percentage had been down. The slider percentage is down this year specifically, but the last couple of years, the slider percentage was up. And curveball percentage is down a little bit from his time with the Rays, but it's up, in a similar range this year than it had been in the past. So he hasn't really changed himself. What's interesting to me and what I would want to see, him get with the Dodgers is pitch selection, pitch sequencing, maybe switching that up again. And it may be something that he, likes the way he is, and that's why he wants to go that way. But if you need to cut down on the walks, then the Dodgers could help maybe change something mechanically, or like I said, pitch sequencing could help out in terms of cutting down on those walks. The interesting thing about him with this fastball is that he throws it so often, but it's his worst pitch by far. It's not. It's not great either. Like, he's giving up this season specifically. Batters are hitting 262 against his four-seam fastball, with an expected batting average of 290. So he's getting a little bit lucky there. He's giving up a slugging percentage of 404, which, not great, but not bad. And the expected slugging is 510. So he's getting lucky there. He's a weighted on base percentage of 360 with an expected weighted on base percentage of 407. So he's getting, he's outperforming those numbers. And when you look at the fastball, he just doesn't get swing and miss on it. And he throws it out of the zone a lot more often than elite pitchers do in terms of fastballs in the zone. His fastball on average, this year it's up to 52.5% of his fastballs are outside of the zone. He's been as low as 41% in his career and been as high as 55.5 in his career. He was at 48.5 last year, 45.2 last year, or in 2021. So he's never been a guy that throws, his fastball this year has been out of the zone the most since 2017. So, that's contributing to the walks, obviously. And I looked at someone like Kershaw, and Kershaw's, in the 45% area. Jacob deGrom, 45% area in terms of fastball percentage out of the zone. So, they're obviously a little bit different than what Blake Snell has been. And then you look at all his other pitches, and all his other pitches are out of the zone, by a big percentage, but that's, as expected. You're not really trying to throw off speed pitches, 4 strikes, unless it's one of your main pitches. But with the fastball, you got to be living in that 45% range at least with your four-seam fastball and the zone. And, like I said, it's hard to argue with the success he's had this year, but, leading the league in walks, averaging 5 walks over 9 innings, like, that's not sustainable in terms of, he's had good numbers this year, low ERA, but like I said, he's outperformed that ERA, or his ERA is an outperformance of what he truly is in terms of the base runners he gets on and everything else. So, but I would like to see, like I said, someone like the Dodgers, see maybe they change that up. Maybe they lower the fastball. Maybe they up some of his other pitches, and see what can happen. But the part with that is that he doesn't throw his other pitches in the zone that often. He'd have to make that adjustment in terms of getting some of those pitches in the zone a little bit more often, because you look at his other pitches, especially this year, his off-speed pitches, his curveball, he throws it 18.9% of the time. He's got a whiff percentage of 55%. He throws his changeup 18% of the time. He gets a whiff 48% of the time. He throws his slider 13.7% of the time. He gets a whiff 55% of the time. Like, he gets swing and miss on those off-speed pitches. If he can just cut down the walks, throw the fastball in the zone a little bit more, that might help him out. Maybe, throw some of these other ones, throw some of these pitches a little bit more often than he does and get that fastball percentage down. That's something I could do. So I think stuff-wise, he's going to hold up, for at least the next few years. I think 5 years is a good solid deal for him. And I do, would like to see him with better pitching and analytics and everything the Dodgers have and throw at pitchers. I'd like to see him with that, maybe a couple mechanical adjustments, and see if he can cut down on those walks. He might just be this guy that he is. He might just be a guy that walks often. But this year is his highest walks per 9 of his career, or since his rookie year. And 93 walks in 167 innings. That's a lot. He's never thrown more than 69 walks in a season, and this year he's at 93. Even The year he won Cy Young last time, he had 180 innings pitched, 64 walks. This one is at 167.93. So I don't feel like that's an issue for him. I think this year it's been an issue. Going deep into games has been an issue for him because of that. But like I said, I think he maybe relies on the fastball a little bit too much or doesn't throw it for enough strikes if he is going to rely on it, which I think that's something that can be fixed or at least aided a little bit more. So would I be in favor of the Dodgers going after Snell? I wouldn't be upset about it. The Dodgers are going to need a stable starting pitcher, at least one this offseason. Even if Clayton Kershaw comes back, you don't know what he's going to give you. Walker Buehler, being ready for next season, but you can't really know what he's going to give you. And then you're going to have the young guys, Miller, Sheehan, Pepiot, Stone. You don't know what they're going to give you per se. Sophomore slump is a word for a reason. So sometimes that does occur. So I think Blake Snell should be, one of the guys the Dodgers go after this or think about going after this offseason. And, I wouldn't be upset about it. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to find us where we get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to check out SiriusXM or the SXM app and search Dodgers if you want to listen to the home broadcast for any game. You can become an everydayer by listening to us every day, Locked On Dodgers, wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. You can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM Jeff Fry if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-LOCK. We're every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, tell your smart device play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.